Hi, my people. It is 12/23/23. It's very interesting, these numbers that keep popping up when I do my recordings. I don't know. Okay, here we go again. And again, those of you who have listened to me before, that sometimes I throw in things in there um, that are kind of side notes. um Even in these episodes, which I'm just going to go ahead and get into relationships, but I'm still putting this on my daily uh unscripted, what do you call it, list. Okay, so there's a lot of repetitive thinking that I've done over the years, basically in regards to relationships on so many different levels. But I think I've just realized, in terms of my freedoms, which I didn't realize till later on how important that is to me. Um, Really, freedom in all relationships, right? This is about freedom in and of self. And is this something that's important to you, which you may not even realize? I didn't realize it for a very long time. So, some people are not into this. I realize that. Sometimes people actually like to feel a little bit, I don't know if you want to say like controlled, but in a certain way, regulated. It makes them feel secure. And I myself even like that sometimes, and feel like I need to be put in my place if ever I'm acting dumb, or, need some guidance. So that's just the overall general what I'd like to say, is that I do a lot of repetitive thinking, and I've just with a lot of things, but especially when it comes to relationships, and just what I've learned on my journey. And basically being with my husband for almost 23 years now. And he's subconsciously, just because of the person that he is, with that independence, kind of a, it's embodiment, right? Being his character, everything just of how he's always been. And I never knew that I would, I guess, become someone like that, because I came from such of an attachment based thinking. And so, what I've learned in that journey, in how important my freedom is to me, and people always think in committed relationships that that's why I wanted to kind of lightly tread on eggshells, because I'm trying to explain that this does not mean, people always specifically means, when you're talking about this subject in particular, it means basically do whatever you want, bang whoever you want, all over town, all over the place, all these sorts of things, like a free spirit, just like, just being crazy like that. That's what I think culturally that it would sound like when you talk about it. But freedom, when I'm talking about this within a relation, committed, we're going to say committed, live in whatever relationship, you're making a commitment, dedication, in my opinion, of love to, maybe this one particular person, to go above and beyond, right? Which I could talk so much more deeply on exactly what I mean. But when I mean freedom and of self, in and of self, it means that sort of confidence and security you have in yourself, to be comfortable within yourself, to live by your own set of rules, not one governed by others. Okay. I'm not saying give two shits about your significant other and what they think. Of course, you're going to take that into consideration, just like staying out late, right? You want to respectfully tell them, where you are, or what time you're going to be home, and those sorts of things. There's a certain set of standards, of course, of respect, but feeling like you can still live your life, but not under the constructs or confines. Yeah, confines of what society says. And I will give you some more examples of what I mean. Um, Actually, I can go ahead and get into it now, but it's, for example, back in the day. Okay, so I am, okay, back in the day, so I'm 46 now. Um, Even 20 some years ago, that people, because they are either influenced by religion, or, like I said, society, how you're supposed to act, they might say something like, oh, and I'm going to use both male and female, your husband or wife lets you do that, right? Or people would say, "Oh, you're whipped," you know, basically like you do whatever your wife tells you. That's like a cultural thing, a cultural norm, right? There are these rules of the supposed to. That's what I'm going to use. Supposed to do, supposed to act, supposed to behave. And somebody might say, like, "Oh, you're married. You're not supposed to act like that." And to me that is so dumb again, to say that, oh, I can't talk to somebody of the opposite sex, I can't do this or that, which again, another reason I had to do this episode is because it's from a perspective of a tomboy, which is me, who grew up with my dad. I had that influence. And then I also had the influence of my stepdad, right? So two male role models. I also had a few pen pals growing up, very lengthy letters. I've talked about this before with one person where he would talk about this really well known author, Henry David Thoreau, about walking in the woods and things like that. So I've always had those types of platonic friendships, and some people I never met before. And so, yes, my husband had to be accepting of that. Okay. So this doesn't mean he likes it or anything like that. But then also, as the years went by, right, I got into training and physical self defense systems, which he loved. And he knew that I was always training with guys around me, right? Okay. So I'm not saying that not a lot of people have the strength, especially when you love somebody very much, right? To kind of be okay with these sorts of things. And that's why I said this isn't for everybody. I'm just trying to give you the perspective from someone who lives. For me, I'm very thankful and grateful that I have so much freedom just to be myself. And not, like you said, a lot of people would put up with this, even if it's just me talking to somebody else. Okay. So then all those jealousy factors and whatever come into play. If you want to ask my opinion and my side of things, because people would be like, well, what if that was you and that was your man doing? It really depends on the relationship and the friendship. And then again with the female or whatever was going on, because I would have to deal with the same thing if the person I was with, right, was a first responder, a tattoo artist, a bartender, a trainer. So there's a lot of strength that requires being in relationships like this, and that goes into a whole nother subject of the monogamy conversation and things like that, which I also think it's just so complex and complicated. I think a lot of people would understand if I was able to put it into words better, that topic. um, but I'm not going to talk about it now. It's going to make it get way too like confusing and deep. So going back to the freedom in and of self, which you can definitely have in a committed relationship. Um, so any relationship, right? If you want to keep them, even a platonic one, they have to be maintained at a certain level, right? You have to be willing to put in effort. And there are a lot of people that are not. Okay. And so freedom in and of self, I mean, there's so many different examples that I could give you. It could just even be like, um, I know this about myself, right? So now I've become so social, even though I pick and choose when and where, excuse me, that I want to be social. But for instance, you know, if my husband is irritated, like since he's more of an introvert while he's becoming more social, if he, for example, didn't like that part of me because, who wants to share somebody, right? Going back to the those love concepts we've shown, which I don't think that I think jealousy is definitely a learned behavior or thought or whatever. It's not being unconditionally loving, right? But it takes time to learn to break through it. But let's just say he doesn't like that. Well, I'm not going to not be myself or not go somewhere. And definitely he can stay home and do his own thing if that's what makes me happy. But it sometimes takes a very long time in a relationship to be able to get to that point, because we don't want to make that other person upset or jealous or whatever it is. I'm not trying to do something um, and it's almost just as a result of who I've become, which I do like the person I have become. But like I said, again, it takes time. And I could go again on and on and on, but I didn't want to do that today. I just pretty much wanted to put this out there because it really goes back to all of this societal conditioning, programming, whatever you want to call it. And I could break it down to talk about how, religious influence and all of that sort of stuff. And this may not be for you, okay, people? So if this is not your thing, that's totally fine. And that's why I've proposed the question is that how important is this to you? And how much freedom do you want? Because, with the right person, you can have whatever type of relationship that you have, even with, and I could go into even with having very little communication when you are always coming from love and intentional positive thinking. Okay, so do you want to be with somebody who allows you to be yourself, allows you to grow, that you want to grow together? And ask these questions to yourself, because if you look and break down of the things within the relationship that constrict and constrain you, what these things are, uh, if these things are important to you, then I want you to ask yourself these questions. Okay, I know this is a lot of information. Hopefully, I don't have to re-record it again because I forgot something. But from the perspective of somebody, like I said, in the type of relationship that I have and the freedoms that I have to share this, to share with others that this is possible. And there's so many other examples I can give you in terms of the freedom in and of self, but it's basically to be yourself and still with discretion as needed and trusting yourself and decisions you make. But it takes time to be confident within those decisions that you make because, like I said, um, what really helps is time, time to grow, time to grow within yourself so that you feel confident, and you can stand up to anybody. And it sounds really, I guess, in I don't want to say it sounds like being single. It's like you are hmm, you're independent. It's the two healthy people, coming together, and you're functioning like you're able to function on your own. Neither of you feeling like some desperation need, but being your own two separate people, but being having your convictions in your beliefs, and then believing that you have a right to live how you want. I think that's the best way to put it. Okay, and I might do furthermore on talking about this, but I think people need to hear this, whether they agree or not, because, like I said, again, um, I didn't always think like this. I came from a very attached based thinking that, if I love you, I want to be with you all the time, which I think is unhealthy. Attachment based, and it causes a lot of suffering. So that actually comes a lot of discussion within Buddhist philosophies. It causes more suffering, and that's why I really encourage diversifying our love. But where am I going with this? Oh, attached based thinking, and then also thinking that another person, meaning your significant boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, uh, gives me my worth. That's what I actually thought, like, oh, they like me, I must be worth something. So that was my logic, and that's how I can explain now how, like, I understand how I used to think, and how, like I just said, I didn't know how important freedom was to me until I learned it later on in life. And it was a very valuable lesson, one of the deepest lessons of my life. And I'm really glad I'm able to explain it now. And not a lot of people get this, like I said, even the couple of friends that I know I don't know to say have as many freedoms as I do. Just anything. It's not even just, I mean, it could be, I can't think of any more examples though right now other than, yeah, just so many things that I can make a list if people want to hear about it. But anyway, hopefully this provided some value to you, maybe some insight. Maybe you just think it's interesting. Um, my life, I don't know. It's just, I had to get this out there, and I haven't really specifically done it like this before. So that's about all today. And I'm going to finish and close like that. And hopefully everybody's having a good holiday. And just funny to end like that when somebody could be listening to it when it's not the holidays next year or something. Okay, so I'll be talking to you soon in the next video. Thank you all for listening.